Hello, 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 and welcome back to another episode of Vox Jed Fight About It. And we've got another special episode. I've entered every single one of these episodes with it being a special episode because all these people are special people. Say hi, Crim. You're a special
Hello.
person for today.
Say hello
Aw.
now.
Say hello now, instantly.
This instant.
I don't have freedom of speech. Ah.
Introduce yourself. Who are you? What do you like doing?
Yo,
Yeah.
what up? I'm Crim. I'm an Australian non-binary streamer that does not have a sleep schedule whatsoever.
Oh,
Awesome.
I can appreciate it. That's a good
Yeah,
introduction.
Jed is also an enjoyer of not having a sleep schedule.
My sleep
I
schedule
think-
just likes to be awake for an hour longer than I sleep. But
I've been
still
trying
needs
to
the 10
watch a
hours of sleep,
movie
so-
with Jed for like a week now because it's like, yeah, we'll kick it up after stream. All right, cool. And then I go to stream, and then I come back from stream, Jed's asleep every time.
Yeah.
So like my sleep schedule can go. I either go to bed at like 6 p.m. and I wake up at like 3 a.m. or it could be like I go to bed at 3 p.m. and then wake up at 5 p.m. the next day.
Christ.
So like it's all over the place in terms of that, which is kind of
Yeah.
sucks when it's Australian and you're in a lot of events because they're so early. It's gonna be
Yeah.
Yeah, you really got to get the energy flowing immediately. I'm on that like 4 a.m. to like 1 p.m. sleep schedule, give or take an hour either side. Yeah, it's pretty solid. I get to hang out with like the Australians at the end of my day.
Yippee!
You know, like right dead at the end of my day, I get to get in contact with people that I need to get in contact with, and then, you know, I get to spend most of my day with the Americans. Ugh.
Ugh,
Yeah.
the Americans.
Yeah, but no, I have enough time to talk to everybody, which is great, without interfering
Yeah.
with my sleep schedule, which is awesome.
I love that.
Yeah.
But well, let's just get right into it. Crim,
Oh, you want to start
what,
asking questions now? All right.
Yeah, let's start right up. I think we're. I mean, do you have anything else?
Well, no, that's fine. We're good.
Cool. What made you
making sure what
interested
we're doing.
in streaming and content creation on the whole?
I don't know. I guess I grew up watching like a lot of streamers and stuff, and I've like taken a liking to it. It's like one of my passions, and I really enjoy just like being able to go through all these new opportunities with people and things like that. And it's just something I really enjoy doing, and I want to do forever.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Really got
Like
my
that-
passion for it.
Yeah, like I don't know. I'm the same way, where it's like I'm very passionate about this whole thing and always have been, you know. And so it's cool to see other folks in that sort of vein with it. Was there anybody? Do you remember? Do you remember the particular, like, is a big ask, but do you remember like the moment where you were like, oh, I can just do that? I could just be doing that?
I think it was like so one of my friends, you may know of them, just Dash YT. I used to watch all the time on Twitch, before we actually became like really close friends. And then we were talking about it one time, during her stream, and she was like, "Oh yeah, it's really super easy." And I was like, "I could do this? What?"
Hey, I can do this too.
Yeah, it's very approachable.
I'm beginning to feel like the odd one out who's not doing content creation for like an extreme passion for it. I just have fun with my friends, and it's a good way to
It's
spend
just-
time with friends.
Yeah, it's just something I've always enjoyed like doing. And I mean,
Mhm.
I get to have fun and meet cool new people like you guys. So
Yeah, that's
Aw.
another reason why I like it.
But no, yeah, it's a big, like, it's a big passion around here, and most of the people we've had on agree that just like, yeah, no, I found out I could do it, and then I started doing it, and I haven't stopped doing it, you know.
I mean, I
Yeah.
did take like a year-long break at one point for my mental health, but like I've recently, like over the last like 2 years, gotten back into it, and I'm enjoying it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
I think everybody has those hiatus periods at some point where it's just like, all right, I need a big break, you know.
Yeah, it's like it's getting too much. I need to step away from it for a little bit and then come back, and then it's so much better.
Mm-hmm. But speaking of friends and content creation, how did you happen your way into Willow? How'd that happen? What's up there?
So Bush and B Bush, actually.
Oh yeah.
Always.
Bush and I'm friends with Bush, and I had spoken to Enzo once or twice in the past, but I was friends with this other content creator, and then like Bush and I were mutual friends through that, and then we just started hanging out and talking a lot. And then I'd heard about Willow through I think Woolen actually, because Woolen and I would always used to hang out in VC, and they would screen share while I were playing on the server. I was like, this looks so cool. And then when the applications came out, I was like, let me in. Let me in. Bush, let me in, please.
Grab them
And
by the
yeah.
shoulders.
Bush, please.
Well, yeah, it was pretty nice because I think before I actually got into the server, I'd met up with Bush in real life.
Oh.
Because I traveled to America over the Christmas period, and like after that New Year's period, I was in like the area, and I was like, let's meet up, Bush, and then we hung out, and it was great, and had a great time.
Hell yeah. Yeah, it took Vox and I 4 years to meet each other.
Well,
Yeah,
Did it?
3 years.
It was
3 years at a
three.
wedding.
No.
Yeah.
Jed was at my wedding. That was the first time I ever saw Jed in person. Was at my wedding of all places.
As-
At your
best
wedding?
man.
Oh my
Yeah.
god!
I was just like, Jed could show up to my wedding, and then Jed showed up to my wedding.
Well, that's how it
sounds
kind of
fabulous.
that's kind of how it started, was because Vox was just like, I don't know, I don't know about getting married. I don't know if anybody would really come to that. And I was like, I mean, it's a wedding. I would make it. I'd figure out a way. I'm across the country, but I'd figure it out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
If like one of my best friends was getting married, I'd spend any amount of money if I got to go to their wedding.
No, yeah,
that's
for
cool.
sure. But enough about us. It's this episode isn't about us, Jed. We might be in the title, but this one's not about us.
What if I like hearing more stories about you guys? Huh?
Aw, there's more episodes for
we'll-
that. We only got you
We'll
for this
have a whole
one.
story episode. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have a stories episode. But more specifically, about the Willow group. It seems like between like, because we heard Woolen had a very similar story about how like, yeah, I was just kind of friends with Bush, and then I got Bush was like, hey, I'm working on this thing called Willow SMP. You wanna maybe help me test it and then maybe be a part of it? And then they were like, yeah, I'll do that. And so it seems like there's like a pre-existing, like far before the like pre the SMP friend group at the core of this whole like Willow thing. And like I wanted to ask, how do you this is not on my list of questions, this is a very impromptu one. How do you guys remain so like inviting and open? Because like I don't sense any of that like clickiness or like, you know, or like natural like lean anywhere involved. And like I as someone in a very tight knit friend group, it like I do understand that like bringing new people in on projects is very difficult because you sort of develop a shorthand with people. So like how do you manage as a group, or even just you personally, to like get around with so many people and like ensure that like welcoming atmosphere that like Willow is almost like known for at this point?
I mean, I feel like that stems from like another SMP that I'm kind of also an administrator for. I also help run the Twitch SMP at the same time as
Mhm.
Willow. So it's kind of been my thing where I've just like always been like a kind of person where I've been like, I like to be social with new people because I like to get to know like the new people that have joined the project. Like, for example, I didn't know a lot of the people on like Willow, or for example, ConsoleCraft as much as I know them now. Like, I didn't even know Ellie until Willow SMP, and we're like really close friends now, kind of thing. So it's like it's just like my nature, I guess, to be very like social and talkative with people.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I definitely felt that like that sort of nature from you specifically, just because it's like, dude, Willow SMP lore died really hard in season 2, and so it's like, well, I got nothing to do. I'm gonna dig myself a hole in the ground and just, I guess, hang out there, because I stream in such like a weird, what I thought was a dead zone, but I guess not, because all the ConsoleCraft events are at 8 p.m. Shakes my fist. I'm so mad I have to miss most of them. But like I thought, like I was in this like weird dead zone where like, okay, nobody's on during the point where I'm streaming. That sucks. And like I noticed that a lot of the times you would be making time to just sort of like, hey, how you doing? What are you working on? That's cool.
Yeah.
You want to see this thing I got?
Just, like,
You know?
yeah, on the server AFK, and then I'll notice like somebody streaming, and I'll come by and be like, "Hello, I'm here now. How's it going?"
Yeah. And it's great. It's great because I like to interact with people like that. I'm just so awful at just like rocking up on someone's doorstep, just like knock knock, hello. I've come to have a
And
chat.
I will
You
defend the
know?
ducks. I will defend the ducks, Foxhole, until the end of my day.
Oh
The ducks
god.
need to be protected.
Yeah. Dude, this duck hate thing, as fun as it is, as great as it is, it's just like the problem with it is I don't know how to resolve the duck plot. And so season 2 dying is kind of resolving the duck plot for me.
Oh yeah.
Thank
That's to stop me
God.
from bringing back ducks in Willow season 3, huh?
I'll seethe quietly about this one. I got other bits in mind. But
Also, if like 1,000 ducks show up at your house, you're not gonna say anything.
I'll probably say something, but it's probably about that personal inconvenience because I got a lot of character plans for season 3. I got a lot of big stuff coming down the pipe. But like
Ooh.
that's beside the point. I did want to ask you
Mhm.
about character stuff. I'm kind of breaking sequence here, but because me and Jed like ran over some questions at the beginning, so I'm kind of breaking sequence a little bit. But what sort of like do you want to talk about like do you want to talk about your characters at all before I ask this question actually? Like just the characters you
Um,
tend to play?
no, just ask the question, I think.
Okay, because like what sort of like character archetypes do you like to like play in when it comes to like lore or play against in other people of when it comes to like SMP lore stuff?
I guess sometimes it depends on like the person I'm going against. Like for Bush, when
Mm-hmm.
Bush was playing Eggman and Willow, I was just a genuine annoyance. For example, like we had like for okay, do you guys know the at the end of the Willow thing when that we were fighting Eggman that my character was on Eggman's side?
Huh.
So the
Huh.
only reason for that existing is because Bush was afraid of my weapon. My like the scythe that I had and the enchantments on it, he was afraid of going against that.
Oh,
So he invited me to be on his team in law. And I was like, I mean, it'll get one of my friends out of jail, you know. And then that's where the whole like family kind of thing related to it because in law he told me Eggman told me that I was like a daughter to him
uh-huh.
and as like a
Huh.
joke, but then I took that literally and now that's like there's actually like a whole backstory behind the two of them, so it's a little bit interesting. But I don't know, I guess it's dependent on the situation because for example at the start of ConsoleCraft I had a completely different idea for my character than they have become now. Like my characters, like
Mm-hmm.
because ConsoleCraft Crim, as some people know, is Willow SMP's character Hema in 104 years I think in the past. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like freshly like out of where they've just been like experimented on and all that kind of stuff for like the past like century kind of thing. So it's like them. It
Right,
was
right.
originally supposed to be them trying to find their way in the world after being like imprisoned for such a long time and like not being able to see the world. Like the reason why they go by their name instead of Hema is because over the time when they were in the lab, they've forgotten their name, and
Oh.
what they were referred to while in the lab is Project CRIM. So they
Mm.
just renamed themselves Crim.
Oh.
Huh.
So, and then Herobrine came in and it was, oh, we love Herobrine. I'm gonna punch him so bad,
Yeah.
but we love him.
Oh,
Yeah.
the twists and turns. The twists and turns that like because like that's the fun part is like planning these characters and setting up such like fantastic things. When it works, it's so satisfying. But I find it almost more satisfying when you're just walking along, minding your own business, doing a lore thing, and then someone steps in and is just like, "Hey, how about this?" Like in lore in the moment, and it's like, "Oh, that's interesting." And then you end up playing off it, and like the sort of interactive storytelling portion really kicks itself into high gear and changes around some plans. And then like because
Yeah.
I feel that almost leads to like a richer, more interesting, like more like real quote unquote story than if you were to like than anything you could possibly like even dream of writing, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I think I like the whole not having a script function so much better than it would have a script. Because you get to see like the raw reactions of the characters. Like, for example, if you just give someone a prompt and like you give the people stepping stones of like important events throughout the storyline, but how they get there and the things that happen along the way is up to them. Which is I think what
Right.
like separates the like what we do from like SMPs that, for example, are scripted and things like that and have like pre-planned stuff like that. I feel like it's better to do things in the moment than it is to have them scripted out because it could seem boring if everything's pre-planned.
Yeah, no, it's so nice. You can tell even a professional actor to like, okay, they're gonna come out and they're gonna be like missing an eye or whatever, and you're gonna have to act surprised about that and shocked. But that will never ever like come close to just like, hey, you're gonna walk in and something's gonna happen. I'm not telling you what, but I'm working on something, and you'll see it tomorrow on the day, you know? And it's just like, you can't beat like the level of like raw actual reaction you can get out of people in that way, I think. Like no amount of acting could get you there.
Which is definitely something I like about like being able to write, because obviously with people going to conventions, I've kind of taken over with writing the rest of the storyline for ConsoleCraft, and it's cool because the way I've been explaining it to people is, this is the one thing you'll have to do for this. Like for example, Jamie's character died yesterday.
I heard
the,
about that.
the way this happened is Herobrine threatened Fion that if they failed to get the block from the minigame that was played yesterday, someone would die permanently, right? And and this is how like Jamie wanted to go out. So the only thing I said to Fion was, I'm gonna need you to purposely fail to get this block tomorrow. And the rest I didn't tell them about because I gave them a little hint.
Right.
And then they freaked out about it in my DMs, but I was like, this is the only thing that we have to have happen. Everything else is up to you.
Yeah, there was... Sorry, go ahead. No, you go ahead. I want to hear more.
I'm staying silent. I'm
Okay,
turning off my mic.
Okay, so what I was going to interject with was that that's actually and I'm a big like comedy nerd and a big like TV like and film nerd as well.
You're just a big nerd in general.
Yeah, just a big nerd in general, but those things are things that I'm very passionate about as well. And like the like improv can be very interesting, but I think that specific form of improv is very Curb Your Enthusiasm, very Larry David in the, because that's how they frame scenes on that show, and you can tell because it's actually very interesting to look at compared to another like TV like sitcom. Is that like, hey, there's no script, there's no like real stage direction. The only stage direction given is, I need you to walk through that door, and I need you to argue with that man, and I need you to lose the argument. That is all the instruction you get. This is a 7-minute scene. Go, you know? And like I feel there's just such like an interesting show you get out of that. I think that if you scripted it, there are some great actors and some great script writers, but like, you know, I don't feel like the show would carry the same feel, and I like carrying that like sort of improvisational feel and giving. I feel like it becomes like much more of it's very emblematic of like online content in general, that sort of thought process of like, you know, we're each like the star of our own perspectives, and thus allowing that sort of freedom to each individual actor gives the leeway necessary for just like, yeah, no one person is really responsible for the way that scene went down, you know? If there were a writing credit, you'd have to credit every actor in the scene individually and then some, you know? Because it's just like, it's a very all hands on deck approach, and you know, I think some great things come of that. Anyway.
Yeah, definitely.
I feel like it's like really interesting because besides getting everyone's like raw reactions, you get the emotions that come from those reactions, which I think are really interesting. Because like it's easier to have like the emotion just come out as it is than have someone fake it. For example, like you have to have this reaction at this point because this person's doing this thing. Like it's completely different. Like the person has to fake what they're doing if it's like scripted, but if it's like a raw thing, it's like, wow, I did not expect that to happen. Like it's an actual like experience kind of thing, which I really enjoy.
Yeah. I guess then along with
Yeah, keep the flow going,
that,
Jed.
what with your OC specifically, not necessarily your ConsoleCraft character, but just your online personality. I don't know if you still use your same ConsoleCraft character as that, like Vox and I do, or but for your specific character that you play on stream, what do you have a story behind it about like why
I
that, or is it?
I do. I
Mhm.
do. It's just I can't talk a lot about it because I'm still technically writing it, and I've got plans to reveal everything for in relation to this character soon. Like there's a whole backstory behind them, and there's a little bits behind them that like are gonna be hinted probably over the next couple weeks as I start working on it, and then there's just gonna be a full
Mhm.
thing that I'm working on with one of my friends. But yeah, I can't really talk about it a lot because a lot of it would be like spoilers, and I don't want to spoil it for the people because it's like something that
No,
I
Yeah, of
yeah,
course.
absolutely.
really
Because the
enjoy
show,
like writing and doing.
for transparency, the show will be out. At the time of recording, it is Saturday at 5 p.m., but this show will be coming out Sunday at 3 p.m. For the general viewing public. So 1 day turnaround here. We do not mess around. But so like if there's anything that's going to happen like in that like 1 day period, then like you should be clear to not spoil it. But beyond then is like that's when the show will be out.
Yeah.
I
But
feel
I
like the
do want
only
to
thing I
ask.
could really. Hmm.
Oh no, go ahead.
I feel like the only things I could really talk about, if like that's like the turnaround, is like my plans for my ConsoleCraft character and stuff like that, because obviously
Ooh.
the server's ending tomorrow,
Mhm.
kind of thing. So it's like something I could really talk about, where I intend them to go, because obviously, as we know, a lot of people there's a chance that they can jump through the portal or they get stuck there because, like, for example, one of the characters is part of the code of the server. So they're
Mhm.
physically unable to go through this portal. So they're gonna
Mhm.
like stay with the world after it corrupts and crashes and all that kind of stuff. My character won't go through the portal either. Like that's not their thing. They're about to lose someone close to them tomorrow, like really, really close to them, and it's gonna stick with them for eternity. Like so obviously ConsoleCraft is 100 years before Willow.
Mhm.
But the reason, so my character is probably one of the only people who actively remembers ConsoleCraft in Willow. Like, in
Mhm.
Willow Season 2, my character's the only one that remembers what happened in ConsoleCraft. They just won't talk about it because of the events that happened there.
Mhm.
Like, for example, Dark's character, I don't think remembers ConsoleCraft that much. But like, I have like my character has every single memory, every experience is in like the back of their mind. Like they just don't like to bring it out and talk about it because it's been such a traumatic experience. But do you guys know the FNAF gravestone ending?
Yeah.
Yes, we're very Five Nights at Freddy's familiar here.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna find this sketch that one of my artists did, and I'm going to send it in the chat because it's something that I'm doing as like my ending card for ConsoleCraft.
Mhm.
I'm just gonna put the sketch in now, but it's two characters sitting on a hill. It's the last two characters that are left
Huh.
at the end of ConsoleCraft.
Huh. And
Interesting.
we're clear to show this on the show, right? We're good for
Yes.
that? Okay, awesome.
Yep.
Cool. Just double checking.
I don't mind. It's gonna be
There's
posted on the Twitter by the I'm gonna ask Bush if I can post it on the Willow SMP Twitter when it's done. As like a
Mhm.
thank you for playing ConsoleCraft kind of thing. Like a thank
Oh.
you for the end. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a very nice sketch, a
This
very
is
solid
nice.
thing. I'm glad you
Gonna be
brought up the Five
animated.
Nights at Freddy's thing because it's very clearly that. It's very like
Yeah, it's
inspiration
the
on the
same
sleeve.
positions.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. There's
Yeah.
gonna be
But
like there's obviously like some changes that are gonna be made because there's like gonna be more graves because obviously it's a multiple grave site. But I wanted to put those ones in forward because Samara was like one of the first people we properly like lost
Mhm.
as like a character, and then obviously Ellie is this character's wife,
Mhm.
and then Obi is also another wife, and then Rift was my character's sibling-in-law. Like, despite how crazy Rifty went by the end of the day, Crim always cared about them. Like, Crim
Mhm.
didn't fight them at the end or anything like that because no matter what, they were still family, even though they didn't actually know each other for that long. And I really like that because it's like, nothing you do, even though you've done these things, will make me hate you. In that sense.
The
Yeah,
henchmen
no,
have
I
like a
get you.
similar iconography for ending, where like I'm gonna have to be shut off for reasons, and I'll be shut off until whatever project happens after Willow 3. But
Right.
because the Zero Vault is going to be one of the few things that survive the world falling apart, it's just going to be Twig and Vox just inside the Zero Vault, inside of the void, and it gives us imagery in my head of them just like sitting on the edge of the hallway and just staring off into the void, and I like that idea.
Yeah, I like that as well. I feel like it's very symbolic,
Yeah.
where it's like Voxel and Twig wouldn't leave like Jed behind no matter what, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I do want to ask though. I do want to ask about, speaking of like characters, characters that share our names. Do you find it like, do you prefer to have like, yes, I'm Crim and this is my character. Crim, different thing. You know, do you like having that like oneness with character, even when the character very clearly does not represent you as an actual person? Does that like, do you take that as like a help or a hindrance typically?
Well, Crim is the only character that goes by Crim. Because obviously we've got like Rena and Hema. And fun
Mhm.
fact, actually, for a time when I was sitting in Willow SMP VCs, people would call me Hema instead of Crim, like when we were out of all like socially talking about it. And I think Bush has done it a couple times, Dark's done it a bunch, Rifty's done it a bunch. Like a lot of people have done it a lot of times. And I think it's like interesting because like it shows how much of an impact my character has actually like had on these people, which I find
Mhm.
really interesting. But like I feel like I like going by different names for the characters because it like separates them from both me and other characters. Like, for example, I think if I ever did another Crim, it wouldn't be like some people do variants of their characters, but I feel
Mhm.
like for me it's just completely separate people in their own worlds doing their own thing kind of thing. So it's like I like keeping it separate with all the names and stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the
I don't know. I sort of like personally, sorry, Jed, I sort of prefer that
no,
through
go ahead.
line. I sort of prefer that through line for my characters, and that's of course a personal taste of just like, yes, they are separate people. Yes, they experience their own lives independent of each other, and they're very different people for it, of course. But like, you know, aside from in name and general aesthetic appearance, they like, you know, are very different. But I don't know, I almost find sort of like a joy in that through line of just like, yeah, but they're all, you know, they're all kind of in that sort of vein. And like even when I make a character that's like off the wall, like completely separate from myself, of course, and like I do find that most of the time when I'm building characters, I build them like as exaggerations of the self to a certain degree. Like
Mhm.
that's where all of them start. Is just like, well, what if I took this aspect about myself that I either really like or really don't like, depending on if I'm building a bad guy or a good guy, and I just ramp it all the way up and make it the prime character trait of whichever character I'm doing. I find this sort of self-named character work, and to not to get too philosophical about it, but I find that this sort of character work is very self-exploratory, as well as
Mm.
like just sort of like, on one hand it is just like dumb fun at the end of the day, and my characters end up resembling me almost zero, but plotting for those characters and planning for those characters and allowing myself to get into the headspaces of just like, well, what would he do, what would he be doing, you know, is very like, it's very building on myself and being able to analyze the differences between like, all right, well, where do I stop and the character begins, you know? And I find that aspect very, very fun and interesting. Anyway,
Yeah. There's a very
Jed, you were
fun
saying something?
dynamic that's happening though, because Vox is doing the like different variants of like Vox, a different Vox every time, different character, same name, same everything. But my character, he's immortal because he's a robot and he's a time traveler, so he can be anywhere he wants, really. So it's I find it really fun that somehow everywhere that Jed goes in every timeline, he finds a Vox to hang out with. I that was a
But
fun idea that I had.
But there's also, and I think the more compelling bit of this dynamic for our characters is like that your character is like losing his best friend on a regular basis, and then being like for a time with the new one being haunted with just like, well, this guy looks like him, but he's not him, you know, and then like eventually adjusting, and just at the point when he's fully adjusted and he's like, all right, this is just my guy now, he has to be shunted off to the next project with a new one. And I find that sort of like ever tragedy is a very like solid high point on your character.
Yeah, I'm very intrigued by that concept as well.
Yeah, similar things like happen to my character. For example, a lot of the people that my character met in ConsoleCraft have reincarnations in Willow.
Yeah.
So, for example, looking at someone like, I don't know, Ellie, for example, all my character would see when they look at Ellie's character, which is a reincarnation of their wife, is just someone who's passed away back in those days. And it's like, it's definitely, I think, hard for them because it's like they've gotten close with so many of these people, and now that it's like we're in Willow, they're just looking at them like they're strangers, which I think is really hard because it's like something that I don't think my character would be prepared for. Like, I don't think they would ever expect to see, for example, Voxel again like Willow. Like, because you'd look the exact same, but you'd be different. So it's like the similar thing that we're talking about with like Jed and Voxel, where it's like it's a different person, but at the same time, I knew you in another life, kind of thing.
The thing with my character though is that he doesn't really deal with the trauma he doesn't really deal with the trauma at all. He just kind of keeps going. He's very socially and emotionally disconnected,
and that's so fun. That's so fun. That's the fun part about like how many of these characters get to like continue existing after ConsoleCraft is that like you know Crim's character is dealing with that trauma in their own way, and so is yours, and we get to explore like by virtue of having so many people who like simply just like, but I want to keep playing the same character, you know, by having that like practical want be expressed in the form of like a fiction. It allows us so many avenues to explore like different perspectives on that sort of like loss, you know?
Yeah. With my character though, like I didn't even do it because it was like, yeah, I want to play the same character in Willow from ConsoleCraft, because originally my ConsoleCraft character didn't have a character except for haha funny goon. Until Vox brought up the like, what if we were to
That's kind of where he both started.
Yeah, and from there, I've just gotten this like time travel character that I was like, I do think it's more interesting to have one character that like doesn't age and doesn't feel things emotionally in the same way, but just has knowledge of like everything that's happened. It's like, that's fun. And like jumps around timelines and stuff. But
yeah, I feel like it's really interesting to see how like different people write their characters, I think, as well. Like to see how all these like different stories are getting told. Like obviously as I've taken over the writing stage, it's gone like I've gone from seeing these stories from a viewer's point of view to like actually helping people to write how they want to end their story. And I feel like it's really cool to see everyone's like different ideas and how they want to end it and everything like that. And I really enjoy it. It's definitely like something it's like one of my passions, I think, is like writing and being able to do this kind of thing with people, which is why I'm very excited, because Bush was like, you might be able to do some writing for Willow SMP lore, which is really exciting for me because that's like something I've been wanting to do for a while. So I'm very excited to see how that goes.
That does sound like it'll be a lot of fun. I have no clue. My character is such a catalyst in lore right now. I have no fucking clue what Bush is gonna do with me though, because I'm going to Willow 3 as like a pawn for Herobrine. So it's like I have no clue what he wants me to do there, but I guess I'm doing it.
You're just at Bush's mercy at the time, for the time being.
Oh, yeah.
Which is not a good position to be in, to my experience.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
No. As someone who's been at like the epicenter of Bush's silliness in terms of like the whole Eggman situation and everything like that, it's definitely gonna be an interesting ride for you, and I'm really excited to see how that like goes and everything.
Yeah,
it's very funny.
But
Mhm.
speaking of character stuff, I know you don't want to give any specifics about your character and what's happening there, but I do want to ask, how do you write your characters? Where is your start point, and how do you work up to the point where you're in that moment where things eventually get thrown out the window and in favor of improv? How do you get there? What pushes you? You know?
I feel like it starts with like a concept of one thing, like an idea I've had in the back of my head that I write down, and then I kind of see where it goes, like how I can expand on it from there, and how like different things are going to change. Like I think the way I kind of design my characters is I go on Pinterest. We love Pinterest, and I just like
Mm-hmm.
look at different like character references and things like that, and like pull basically a bunch of things together. Like my Willow SMP character is a combination of a bunch of different outfits that I found on Pinterest that I like went well together, and I wanted to give my character like this connection to like because they're from the Aether, so they've obviously got would have like a connection to like a god in some way. So like they're kind of in a way connected to Apollo, so they've got these like sun related markings and stuff on their hands and like all over their body and things like that aren't really seen by the outfit, but it's like how they're connected to their ancestors and everything like that in a way that is obvious but isn't at the same time. And
Yeah.
I really, yeah, there's one
That makes
thing I
sense.
think that's consistent with all of my characters, I will say, and that is Apollo,
Hmm.
my scythe. My scythe comes everywhere with me. I love it.
Yeah.
Very big iconography. Speaking of
I
iconography, though, yeah, Jed, go ahead. I'll come
Well, I
around.
was just gonna say, like, I did have a moment where I was like, why does the diamond sword? Why is it called a scythe? I don't know. We're gonna move on now, but I'm glad to have this information now.
Yeah, so on Willow I've got well the netherite sword on ConsoleCraft, which is Rena's, is Death Scythe because it's a present from the Grim Reaper to
Ah.
and obviously the Grim Reaper's main weapon is a scythe because in ConsoleCraft, Rena is like Rena's the kind of character that will guide someone's soul into the void where then Obi can take them into the afterlife.
Hmm.
So it's like they're the person that picks them up and is like, for example, they brought Smile into the void because Smile requested to be in like the void to stay there for the rest of his days because he like hurt so many people and he didn't want to live up in the world kind of thing. So
Hmm.
their role is like special in a way. But yeah, so that's just how I custom named the scythe. So it's like it's a scythe, even though it's a sword, because obviously we can't have custom textures and stuff on the server,
Of
which
Right,
course, yeah.
right.
kind of sucks. And then on Willow, I've got a lore item, which is literally just a scythe with like the eye in the middle and like the custom particles and things like that. So it's like
Right, right.
easier to determine. But I've actually got like a 3D model that it has been designed to look like to be Apollo. If I ever
Hmm.
like get the chance to put it in a server, so I'd love to see what I can do with that. But obviously, fabric and being silly is like you can't really do like the custom modeling stuff easily, like renaming like items and things like that really easily, which kind of sucks because like I've tried to do it. Like I tried to do it on Willow last season with like a sword and being able to rename it to Apollo, and I've got like a custom cat texture for like my chat because my chat is like a black cat with like a sunflower. And one of
Hmm.
my friends was a deer and made a custom black cat texture pack where if you name the cat Chat, it gave like the custom sunflower and like the custom color and all that kind of stuff. But because fabric is a not nice thing and like CTI research sometimes doesn't work properly, I can't actually have it on all like the servers that I'm on, and it kind of sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, those sort of limitations can be a real pain sometimes.
Like singular items having custom textures in ConsoleCraft would have made like a lot of the time travel stuff so
Make
much
a lot of
easier.
sense.
Because like what Vox ended up doing was he made a custom texture pack where like iron blocks and emerald and like iron, emerald, redstone lamps, and just anything that was used in it when I came back was the only thing that I changed in that texture pack, and it was a pain.
Well, because
But
the idea was that, like, the time machine that Jed leaves in is not the same that he comes back in, because it goes through, like, a repair period between then, and, like, that would be his arc for Willow 3, is getting him back to the past, kind of. And so I was just like, okay, well, what if the one you come back in, what if the one you leave in is ConsoleCraft, like, console edition textures, and then you come back in a version of it that's all, like, modern
Updated
textures, and I don't think anybody noticed. I don't think a soul
so either.
noticed in the streams or in the recordings, but I did, and I liked it. And it was a detail for me.
That's so
Yeah.
fair. I think because originally if we had more time in the week, Ellie and I actually have a custom texture pack for the server. That is kind of silly. One of my friends was the best and turned waxed cut copper into missing texture blocks. So what we were gonna do is we were gonna like distribute the texture pack to everyone on the server and then put a bunch of missing texture blocks on like the bits of the world where where it's like being corrupted and you can't see it because obviously everything's getting worse. So it'll be like parts of the world will literally just be like, for example, a chunk could just be cut with like the missing texture, like it wouldn't be there anymore, kind of thing.
Right.
And I think if we had more time and we got to figure out the logistics of how that worked, I feel like we would have implemented it a lot sooner. Because I feel like it would have looked a lot like better. And other than like, because I feel like the cutout parts of the world look cool, but I feel like if you added like little bits of like textures, like for example, singular blocks of missing textures around the world, could have like added to the corruption in the sense of, well, this is getting worse and worse and worse way quicker than we thought it would. Because obviously in the last week it's drastically changed in terms of the world. Like, there's a void around the parkour. You can openly see where the skulk area was originally, where we all fought the wardens and stuff.
That gave me a heart attack.
Yeah,
it was like 5 minutes before stream, and I was like, oh right, I was at the spiral parkour, and yesterday the keep inventory got turned off, so I'll just walk back, and you know it won't be a big deal. And I started walking back, and I load up the game. And I click on the click play, and then I see just the void around me, and the only way back to the spawn location is across more parkour, and I am notoriously ass at parkour. So I was like, oh, if I die, I lose all my items because keep inventory got turned off yesterday.
Technically, if you did end up dying and losing all of your items, you could have just asked like me or Bush to give you back your items. Like we would have done that.
Yeah, but
It was
we
just,
couldn't
like,
have done it
right
in
before
time. So
stream.
it was literally 5 minutes before stream start, and Jed was like, "Oh God, I got to do this." But luckily, keep inventory was in fact on. So when Jed died, he just came back home, so it was easy enough to fix.
Yeah, I think inventory was turned off because one of the characters, Whale, was dying today, and that day, and he wanted to like drop a bunch of items for people to pick up. Like there was a book that he wanted to pick Mixie to pick up when he died, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it was like that little moment. But I will say I thoroughly enjoyed having keep inventory on the server. A lot.
Yeah.
I love being able to like jump into the void and just like have no worries if I'm like trying to get somewhere quickly and all that kind of stuff. And like if I die while AFK, for example, it's like, oh well, it's okay because I've got all my items on me and they can't despawn and everything like that. Because I think I lost a bunch of my items day 1 or 2 because I died on the other side of the map from where I spawned, and because people were on the server, the chunks were loaded. And no one knew that my stuff was there, so they could pick it up. So as I was walking over, my stuff just despawned. And it was kind of annoying because I lost like a Fortune 3 pickaxe and like maxed out iron armor to the best of my ability and stuff like that. So it was like rough. A lot, definitely.
Normally on like a longer term server, I would care a lot more about just like, oh man, keep inventories on. I usually like, I mean that kind of removes stakes from the actual real gameplay. But like ConsoleCraft is 4 weeks and it's so low stakes that it's just like, it's good, it's convenient, and I like it. You know, it's very useful, especially with all these void holes everywhere. The amount of times that I've either accidentally fallen in or like had to fight back the urge to push Jed in or vice versa. I'm just like, oh wait, I don't have to fight it at all. I can just push Jed in. It's no consequence. Go ahead.
It's funny because like we were doing like a kind of in lore moment when the void hole right in front of henchman headquarters showed up. and I think it was Nebula that was there, and I was like, oh yeah, no, it's fine. Like we can jump into the hole because Twig was also there, and Twig hadn't been on yet. And it's like, yeah, you can jump into the void, just like don't do anything important while you do it, or you might end up stuck there.
Yeah, we had to
Like,
have this whole bit in lore
sometimes-
of just like, okay, so because like the lore at the time was if you jump into the void, you might not come back. You know, there's a good
Yeah.
shot you're not coming out of that. You know, and so it's just like, okay. Yeah, and Jed came up with this genius phrasing of just like, yeah, Twig, you can jump down there if you want. We've jumped down there a couple times, as in like we've knocked each other in a couple times, and like we came back fine. But I have a good feeling that if we're doing anything important at the time, that we might not come back. Like implying that like because of this state of like quasi lore that the henchmen exist in, where it's just like Schrodinger's lore all the way, where it's like, are we in lore or are we not? Who knows? You know, it changes moment to moment. And between the three of us, that's perfectly fine because usually we're able to tell very easily that like, oh, he's saying a lore thing now. We need to like wise up, and then we can get back to funny haha building and messing around. And it makes ConsoleCraft so much more enjoyable to do that, I think. But what was I saying? Oh, that was just like a genius stroke on Jed's part of just like, yeah, just don't say or do anything important while you're falling in.
Yeah, because like for a time, part of the void was like Herobrine's personal prison where he'd send you, and time would pass differently there. So like a day could be a week or a month or anything like that. So like, I think one of the characters was in there for like 7 months at a time, and they were only in there for like 3 days or something like that. And it's like interesting because like a part of that void, fun fact, does still exist. That's where Rifty is. Rifty's character is in a personal void prison made by Herobrine, because obviously he failed him and stuff like that. So like those kind of prisons do exist, but I feel like it depends on like who's running them, because the part of the void that is like if you fall in and you land in that darkness, like that's where it's like that's Rena's domain. Like Rena can bring you there to like either have a chat with you, or like for Smile, for example, where like if you're down there when the world corrupts and everything like that, you'll go along with it, but you'll be part of like the code and things like that. So it's like your ending will be different and things like that for that person.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like it's an interesting situation.
Yeah.
It's a very fun thing to play around with. Sorry, Jed, what were you saying?
Oh no, I was just gonna talk about our original idea on how you and Twig were gonna die, which I think this new idea is a better idea. But
yeah, it's another one of those cases of just like, because we were like, okay, well, we're doing void research on like the void that appeared right outside our home, so we're just like, okay, so we're gonna take a pause from working on Jed and fixing Jed for our own sanity's sake and go explore the void a little bit. How are we gonna do that? We're just gonna start bungee jumping into it. And that's obviously eventually going to go poorly for us. And it was kind of haphazard and slapped together. And then we joined the lore chat the other night, and Ellie's like, yeah, no, one of the only ways that your character could definitively not die is by falling into the void. And it's like, oh, that's how we were doing our character deaths. Okay, we gotta work this around. And so we did. We managed it. We found a much better ending, in fact. And that's another case of one of those, like, improv moments, sort of like in planning, I guess, in this case, where it's like, okay, well, I think this could be cool. This is the best I can do on such short notice. And then it's like, yeah, you can't do that. All right, come up with a better idea. And then we did. And it came out better than I could have wanted it to normally.
Yeah. But like there are some times when it's like, oh, there's a problem because of like some aspect that is not involving us that we had planned out. Like Willow 2 ending. We had to like desperately find out how like ConsoleCraft Jed had like a woolen co-pin and a patch for like products and things like that. So like we ended up making the most convoluted, like at the end of ConsoleCraft, I'll probably put out like a Twitter post explaining it, because it's like it's a pain in the ass.
You're gonna need
like,
a thread.
I like split
Okay.
Herobrine split me into 2 universes, and so like there's an alternate universe that's just Willow 2, but Jed's there.
Well, okay. So let me run you through it. Let me run you through it the way that we've been rationalizing it. It's So the plotline was originally written with Willow 2 in mind when we were, like, considering that Willow 2 was continuing and that new people would just be added to Willow 2. And I was just like, okay, and then Jed goes to Willow 2 in the time machine and then comes back from Willow 2, and that's fine. And we'd already done the going there and the coming back and written it as Willow 2 and made it very obvious that that's what we were implying. Even though Bush was like, yeah, don't say anything about Willow. Don't directly mention that he's going to Willow, because obviously that's not completely set in stone yet. And then I just did it anyway. We got as close to breaking that rule as possible. And then, obviously, we probably should have listened, because then Willow 3 happened. And so, the way I'd been seeing it is that the timeline where Jed went to Willow 2 and then came back still exists in some form, but is actively being rewritten, like the universe retconning itself to him going to Willow 3, and then that somehow has become, like, the crux of his character at the end, is just, like, the, like, diving into this mania of, like, I have 2 sets of memories that I cannot consolidate, you know?
Yeah. But then, like, Vox will consolidate them for me, and whatever project happens with what we've been lovingly calling Rust Jed, of him, like, waking up inside the vault, like, hundreds of years later, assumedly, he will have all the memories from Willow 2 and 3, which I think is nice.
We're ahead of the game. We're planning for Willow 4. We're like, we've already got preliminary plans for Willow 4 or whatever the next project along in the timeline happens to be. You know?
If Willow 4 happens is the thing. Because
yeah,
I think a while ago...
If it doesn't, that character just gets sort of a bittersweet open end, you know? And then if it does, we've got a plan.
Well, yeah, because I like the fact that, like, ConsoleCraft is, like, set before Willow. Like, before when Willow happens, because I feel like it opens up so much more opportunities for what could happen post-Willow and pre-Willow. Like, because obviously, Bush chose the 100-year gap between ConsoleCraft and Willow for a reason. So, like, he could fit more projects along the timeline if he wanted to. So I feel like it'd be interesting to see, one, what those are, like, what, like, projects come out that become part of the timeline like that. And then also, like, how it goes in terms of everyone's character and what they do. And things like that, because I feel like it'd be really interesting to know how that will go.
Yeah, I'm sure it won't be linear. I'm sure it won't be linear, and that, like, something will happen in that 100-year gap projects-wise. And even if it does, we've got, me and Jed have assembled, like, so many contingencies and offshoots of just, like, well, worst case, we'll explain it away this way or that way. We're very good at, like, that sort of on-the-fly thinking. And I'm sure if something unexpected happens that somehow isn't in our big book of contingencies, that we'll find a way to work around it. But I am also very excited for what the future holds in terms of, like, Willow projects. I'm excited for Willow 3, in fact.
Oh yeah, I'm so excited for Willow. I can't wait for Willow. Honestly, I've been so impatient waiting for that server, and I love it so much, and I'm so attached to Willow, it's crazy.
I've given it so much thought. I've given it so much thought, and I've given this warning to just about everybody who will listen of just, like, this season. Last season, I didn't get to do a whole lot, character-wise, because I didn't know everybody, and I got very socially anxious that if I dived full, like, if the way a lot of people met me was in character, in lore, and that's just what they thought of me, I'd feel real bad, so I kind of took it easy in Willow 2. But now that I'm a little more familiar, I'm leaning full tilt into character work this season. Like, it is going to be insane. Like, I'm not always on, definitely in lore 100% of the time, but the lore stuff I will be doing will be a lot more intense and hopefully able to match a lot of other people's level, you know?
Yeah.
For familiarity.
I'm, like, excited for Willow 3, but I was excited for Willow 2 because there was a period of time where I thought I was getting into Willow 2. Of course, we were just talking about that. But now that I know that Willow 3 is when I will be getting in, it's eased my mind a little bit, because there was this, like, I was in this flow state of, like, yeah, you'll be in Willow when Willow gets finished. We have no clue when that will happen, though, but we're in, you know, we're waiting. Yeah. And I just had this, like, I was in this weird moment of just, like, what is happening here?
Bush doesn't watch this show.
Yeah?
I'm so glad Bush doesn't watch this fucking show.
Well, what if he did, though? What if he did?
Hi, Bush. Because Bush has told us. Bush. He's told us and told us and told us, don't tell anybody. This is my Bush impression, by the way. Don't tell anybody. Don't go announcing it. Don't post about it officially. Don't talk about it officially. you're in Willow, but you're not allowed to say anything yet. Not until please just wait until Willow announces you. But Enzo already said it
like
multiple
Enzo said
times,
it on
so
our
it's like
Twitter,
cat's out of
and,
the
like,
bag, far as we're
multiple-
concerned. We're not putting out like tweets about it or anything, but like in casual
Yeah, I'm not doing
conversations on stream, we're
official.
just dropping
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, I know Bush would be like seething at me for this. I don't mind though.
Oh yeah, he would
Yeah.
totally be. He was just like, Jed, I can't believe you've done this. Why are you mentioning it like this? I can't believe this.
I
God.
honestly, like, my best defense is that, like, literally it was like on Enzo's Twitter, like, you're already in, dude.
Like it's
Like,
public.
alright.
It's publicly available information. As far as I'm concerned, I'm dropping stuff on my desk that I'm fidgeting with. Sorry. But like, I don't know. I don't know. I thank my lucky stars that we could say whatever we want about Sebastian Bush past the half-hour mark, because it's like you will never see it.
I don't know.
See,
who
but
knows? Maybe he
my
does.
question is, what if he has it on background while he's like editing or something like that? Like,
We're gonna get like a DM.
Bush,
like,
come on the
2
show and
weeks
defend
from now.
yourself. Come on the show and defend
Yeah.
yourself.
so Bush appearance when?
Whenever
He's
can
on
be
our short
available.
list.
Yeah.
We just don't want to bother him. He's such a busy guy. I don't want to rock up to his DMs and go, "Hey, you want another thing to do?" You know?
Yeah.
I feel like once the Willers like properly started up is like probably a good time because
Yeah.
like he's obviously got like editing work and stuff like that. So I feel like it's like when one project finishes and like he started and like there's an even pace on Willow, I feel like is the best time because it's like I know he's
Right,
going
right.
into like classes and stuff like that in like a couple months for university and things or like college and things like that. So it's like it's really dependent on when you want to ask. But like I get like not wanting to ask him because like he might be busy and stuff. But sometimes it's good to like put it out there and ask him about it.
Oh, yeah.
And then like obviously he could probably just, like get back to you when he's free, kind of thing. So he could do like other people, and then when Bush is ready and like in Bush's pace, kind of thing. I feel like would be good.
Yeah, that's the thing about Bush is such a busy fella that it's hard to catch him at a good time, and it's like if you want something from Bush or you want Bush to be involved in a thing, you gotta meet him at his pace. You gotta just shoot him a DM and expect a response in like a week.
Yeah.
I feel like Bush is like
And
always
that's fine.
so busy. Yeah, he's always like so busy doing like projects, like working for people and things like that. And he's got so many ideas. Like everyone loves ConsoleCraft. Everyone loves it's such a good server. I enjoy
Absolutely
it.
a runaway
thoroughly so
hit.
much. It's such like something I enjoy, and I feel like he's like really happy that we're enjoying it because it's like I'm glad this is a thing that I've made because it's like we get to meet all these cool new people. Like I love the fact that it's not just like Willow SMP people that were added to ConsoleCraft. Like it's a mix of people who are on Willow and then new people.
Mhm.
Because then we got like the chance to meet like, for
Yeah.
example, you, Jed, and then like
Yeah.
Nyx and Clover and all these kind of people that we've like met and had like and some of us have close bonds with now, and like it's really cool to see how
I
like
was
different projects come together.
I was so nervous because like for since I started doing content creation again, I was like, yeah, I think I would get into like I would want to try to get into Willow at some point in time. I think that would be fun.
Mhm.
And I was so nervous for getting into ConsoleCraft.
Yeah.
Because like that would be my like I guess quote unquote in of meeting new people and stuff. So it's just like I was very nervous about getting in, but then I got in and I got to have a really good time. And I also got to have a very stressful time though, because ConsoleCraft has been a lot of stress for like Vox and I.
Yeah, that's fair. I feel
Been a
like
very
it's, like,
stressful period.
interesting. I feel like it's
But-
interesting because it's like because obviously even if you didn't get into Willow, you're a part of like the Willow Media group forever. Because obviously like
yeah.
they're rebranding and things like that to like Willow Media. Like you're part of the group. Like even if you weren't in the server, you'd still be able to like get into like future projects and things like that. Like even if you didn't get into Willow, there's still like opportunities for you in the future, kind of thing. So I feel like that's
Yeah.
really cool.
Yeah, and that's
It's,
really
like,
good
nice to know.
Right.
for people who don't want to get in on like proper Willow because that's a big commitment, but they do want to get in on smaller projects like ConsoleCraft.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the great thing about the Willow Media Group transition is just, like oh man, I need to duck out for this season, but I'll be back next season, or if you do like a smaller project in the interim, I'll be there, you know? But, you know,
Yeah.
I have to, I cannot participate in this specific project, and it's not like a full out of just like, well, I'll be out of everybody's minds by the time like the next project comes along. 'Cause it's like, no, you're still in the media group. You still like, you know,
Yeah, it's still in, like,
presumably
that
get
community.
dibs of just like applying to things like that.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I feel like it's a good way because you can like take a step back from like if you wanted to take a break from like doing such like different projects and things like that. If you wanted to do like something different, for example, like you're always going to be a part of this like little family, for example, for a long time, kind of thing. It's like it's really cool to see like this little community and all the like even the people that are like in the community Discord and stuff like that. Like I love interacting with like the people and seeing the people's reactions about like all the lore and things like that. Like I heavily enjoy that kind of thing. It's like something I love about like this kind of thing being like this community, and I really
Mhm.
enjoy it.
Yeah, but back onto our general lines of questioning here.
Yeah.
For a moment. You've touched on it a little bit today. You've definitely touched on it quite a bit in small amounts. But how has it been running ConsoleCraft? Like, do you want to talk about your experience with between like you and Ellie and like really heading up ConsoleCraft for this
I'm
final week?
thoroughly enjoying it. I'm thoroughly enjoying it. As I've said, I've always wanted to like ever since like back in Willow, I've always wanted to help out like with writing lore and stuff like that. So I really love getting that opportunity to like do something I enjoy, like hype it, like holding on to like everything, all these experiences, and how it's changed like how I write at the same time. Because like everyone's reactions to how I've written, like I think there's a couple times when I've been doing like Hero Brian Law with like Fion and like Jamie and stuff, and I've DM'd them and I've been like, if this is too much, let me know. And they've been like, no, this is great, keep going. And I love it because like sometimes I feel like with certain things, like there's a chance I could have gone too far. But like the fact that people are like enjoying what we're doing is like really, really like something like that's important to me, and I really enjoy like that fact. So it's like
Yeah.
I get to do
Nice.
something cool for cool people. I love it, and it's great.
So you
Yeah.
said you have like previous experience with things like Twitch SMP and other like moderation gigs, for lack of a better way of
Mhm.
putting it. Do you
Yeah.
find more enjoyment in the participation, or like in the participation in the actual like player side, or in the moderation and seeing how things tick and whatnot?
I feel like it's a combination of both, to be honest. Because, like, for
Mhm.
example, I love being able to see like the inwards of Willow and how like the thought process goes with like Enzo and Bush and how they figure out all this kind of stuff. But I also, at the same time, enjoyed like being a player at the same time. But it's like I feel like it depends on the project. For like, for example, Twitch SMP, I like being an administrator for it and like helping out with like events and things like that. But like I feel like for Willow it's a combination of both. It's like I enjoy being the player, but I also like seeing how everything goes and how I can help and how like it'll change because of what I do or what I say kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right, right. Because personally, there are so many times, especially with Willow, especially with how season 2 of Willow has been, you know, just like unforeseen problem after unforeseen problem, where it's just like,
Yeah.
man, where I'm like on stream and the game crashes or like the server crashes, and I'm sitting there on the screen waiting for it to come up for like the minute it takes to come back up, and I'm like. And I'm talking to chat, and I'm going like, "Yeah, no, this does suck that it's crashing like this, but Chad, I am ever so glad that it's not me. I'm so glad that I don't have to fix this. Like, it's so nice to
Yeah.
experience a problem in that sort of way and go, well, it's not really my problem. You know, I'm not
I
really that
feel like
bothered, but, you know.
I feel like that's why I feel like with Willow, if everything, I would do like moderation in terms of like people support. I wouldn't do tech support specifically for Willow because like I don't know, seeing how it's like for example when we did the first like little update with the mod pack, I was like a beta tester and like the a couple times when Bush and I were working on it, it's like, well, how does this like come out to be how it is now? And it's like interesting to see it, but I don't think I could ever do it, you know.
Mhm.
I
Yeah, there.
definitely it's definitely something I'd enjoy. I feel like if that was something I enjoyed in general, but because it's more like a well, this is just a thing that I do, like I think I like the more creative side than the technical side of moderation.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I'm more, like, obviously, as you guys know, I'm, like, a social person. So, like,
Oh, of
I feel
course,
like
of
I'm
course.
more with the people than on the technical side of, like, moderation. And I feel like I really enjoy that. Because it's like, well, this is, like, something I enjoy doing that I feel like I could see myself, like, moderating for, like, bigger events and stuff. Like, for example, I help run the Willow SMP Twitter. Like, I'm one of the social media managers for the Twitter. So, like,
Mhm.
it's, like, it's, like, interesting to see how that comes out in, like, how different, like, the reactions to all the tweets and things like that, and I really enjoy how that comes out and stuff like that.
Yeah.
No, yeah, that's sort of. I've never like. I have never ever thought to myself that that's something that I could or would want to do, especially on the technical side. On the interpersonal side, mayhap, but it's just like no, I definitely enjoy like and it's definitely such like a no-brainer thing that like I feel
Mhm.
silly saying it out loud. It's just like, yeah, I very much enjoy like experiencing the fruits of the labor of people who are willing to put in that time than I do actually doing the labor for certain. Like
We had
it's not as though I wouldn't
Mhm.
be able to step up if I were required to, but it's like, I much appreciate the people who do that sort of a thing. You know?
Yeah.
Vox and I have experienced a Willow 2-esque SMP that we ran for a
Mhm.
little bit of time where it's
We
just
ran a
like the
very
mod
small
pack.
modded SMP, and
Yeah, it was
like
like 10 people, but it fell apart 24/7, and it was like a 24/7 stream of Vox or I getting DMs that are like, "Hey, this is broken." And it's like, I want to
hey,
play the
turns
game
out
now.
like it's like, hey, this is completely broken and unplayable, and then a second DM that's like, hey, I found an exploit with this. Maybe you should go into the config files and rebalance that. And it's like, thanks for finding that. And then there are third things like, hey, I lost 1 diamond. Can I have 7 more, please? And it's like that. What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do with these?
Yeah.
You know, how do I edit it? Like, it genuinely, like, it's one of those things that genuinely, like, put me into, like, it grabbed me and jostled me and made me realize this is not where I belong. I couldn't. Like, it gave me, like, a very high respect for people who put up with that, especially in, like, larger servers, because, like, as much as I hate to say it, people are mean, dog. People are
Yeah.
Oh, fuck yeah.
impatient. And it's like
Oh, yeah.
I don't see how you could behave that way, you know? But like it's one of those things where it's like even when people are nice about it, about just like, hey, there's a little problem with the server, if you could take a look at that, that'd be great. You know, it's like, oh my god, there's one more thing. There's one more fucking thing. I'm so over like I've been doing nothing but troubleshooting for 16 hours. This has been my entire day so far. I haven't eaten. I need to do something about this. And so it's just like I like have a very high respect for the people who solve these sorts of problems and the people who put themselves forward. I'm just like, yeah, I'd love to run these sorts of projects because like it's a very hard thing, and not only is it a very hard thing, it's a very unnecessary thing where it's like nobody's like full-time job is run an SMP. You know, maybe like 5 whole people in the world, you know, get paid enough to like do that kind of thing for like the biggest of the big. But like it's like it's such an unnecessary thing that they do selflessly for other people to the point where it's
Hmm.
like, dude, the whole reason we're allowed to have a Willow SMP period is because there are people who are willing to torture themselves with these sorts of things. And
Yeah.
I remain ever grateful of that fact.
It it was rough though, because I'd heard a lot about Bush and like what Bush goes through via Vox, but the first day of troubleshooting, it was the testing day that we had the day before it like properly started in ConsoleCraft. I joined the VC and there was just like everybody were like, "Oh, yeah, hey Bush, how do I fix this? How do I fix this?" And it's like, of course, today is the day to do that, but it's one of those things where it's like that is so many people asking Bush like one thing all at the same time. I felt
Just
terrible
being
about it.
like, Bush joins the VC at any time for anything and gets that level of onslaught immediately of being pulled in one direction of like, hey Bush, how do you change the inventory management over to the classic crafting instead of the console crafting? And then, hey Bush, the nameplates are still broken. How do we fix that? And hey Bush, I need you to help me with like a lore item, please. And it's just like, oh man, the position, the lightning rod position that Bush puts himself into, and for such a young guy too, by the way,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
it's
Yeah.
really impressive.
It's really
Yeah.
impressive, but at the same time, it's also like really worrying because it's
It
like,
can't be
is.
good for him. The man needs a
Oh, yeah.
break.
Yeah,
I've,
I get really worried because obviously like Bush is one of my closest friends and I care about him a lot and everything like that. And it's like the amount of stuff he like goes through on a daily is like so interesting to see, and it's like
Mhm.
I'd love to be able to like learn more about the tech support side. So if I wanted to, I could help. Like for example, the nameplate stuff, the classic crafting, I could have probably answered those questions because it's like I
Yeah,
figured
no.
that out as I was troubleshooting it, and it's like
Yeah.
I feel like instead of just immediately asking about it, you should like problem solve and see if you can do it
That's
yourself before just like putting it on somebody else.
That's
Yeah,
what
that's
struck
what we
me on that
realized.
troubleshooting day was because it was like, oh, hey, the chat is way too fucking big. Bush is currently dealing with somebody else. I'll check the settings because it's probably in the settings. Because why wouldn't it be
Yeah,
in the settings? And
like
then
yeah,
like
it's like
as I finished doing it, somebody asked, and it was like, I mean, I could tell you how to do this. You just like go through the
Yeah, and
settings.
not
Look through the
this
settings.
isn't this obviously isn't a dig at anybody specific in
Yeah, of
ConsoleCraft
course.
or anything, or anybody
no,
in ConsoleCraft at all, even in general. It's just that like sometimes questions are asked, and it's like, it's a level of
instead
like
of
self-sufficiency of just like just look at the settings.
and I feel like instead of asking specifically Bush, you could be like, oh, because it's a troubleshooting day, so everyone's
Does
probably gonna have
anybody
these
know how?
issues or
Yeah,
have these quite yeah, it's like does anyone know how to do this? Not just like one person. Because I feel like
Yeah.
that lessens the load on like the administrators who are doing it. Like I feel like
yeah,
I would love to learn, as I said, more about that tech support, just to like take the weight off his shoulders, kind of thing. Because like I feel like it's a lot
yeah.
that he does. Like we love Bush, he's amazing, but like I feel like there's a lot of things that we could do like
To
by
lighten the
ourselves that we don't
load.
necessarily that we don't necessarily need Bush for to do this. And I feel
Yeah,
like a lot of people have gotten like I guess reliant is like a word I would say on Bush. And I feel like that's
Yeah.
like really interesting to see how that goes.
Well, because
I
like
think it's
it
I
is
think it's just a
easier to
culture
just.
thing. I think it is just like a culture thing of just like if I had to take a ballpark swing at how this whole thing ended up this way, it would probably be Willow begins, it's Bush and a bunch of Bush's friends, and a bunch of Bush's friends are like, hey, you're the guy who has access to the server files, Bush. Can you change this setting for me real quick, pretty please? And then of course, like new people who weren't initially involved come in and they see all these questions directed at exclusively Bush. And then eventually, it becomes everybody's directing everything at Bush because there isn't really that much clarity on like, all right, who are the moderators? Is there a moderation team or is it just Bush? And
Yeah.
like, because like
Yeah.
I say that
This
because
is
that took
why
me a while to figure out of just like, oh, it's not just Bush running this thing. Thank God, I can ask somebody else who's not quite so busy, who I won't be bothering to as much of a degree.
yeah. This is why I like the fact that we have roles in like Willow SMP and like ConsoleCraft. Like I've specifically added a couple roles. Like no VidCon was specifically to ping the people that weren't going to VidCon, so I wasn't pinging and annoying the entire server. Or the people that were at like the
Right.
conventions just trying to have a good time kind of thing. And then there's also like lore writer, so if, like Rifty, myself, Ellie, Bush, and Doc have that role. So I should have probably stated this when I had the chance, but if anyone needed like opinions on lore or anything like that, they could have pinged the lore writers and it would have been like their like because obviously they're writing the lore of the story, it would have been like how could my character improve in this? Like I
Mhm.
don't know if you guys know this, but that last Ender Dragon fight that we were supposed to do before Bush accidentally birthed the end, one of the characters, brackets me, was supposed to get a death note.
Huh.
Which I apparently Bush
Oh.
yeah. So Bush told me in DMs that I was supposed to get a lore item the weekend's here, Ryan. And it had been a couple days since he said that, and I was like, "Hey, what happened to this?" And he's like, "Oh, the end broke." And I was like, "End broke, so I couldn't actually give you this item." And I was like, "Oh, what was the item supposed to do?" And then Bush was like, it was basically just a death note." And I was like, "What?" And he was like, "Oh yeah, just basically a death note." And I was like,
Yeah,
why?
casually.
Like, like, what is the reason for having a death note on the micro server? Like,
Yeah.
I get because Hereburn would have been a weekend, but we have this whole like interesting plan that's gonna be real angsty for tomorrow of how we're gonna seal Hereburn away. Because like I don't know
Ooh.
if you know this, but the entire server is looking for gold blocks at the moment. that have like
Oh,
a specific
right,
little
right, I
tiny
heard about
little
that.
Herobrine blocks. Yeah, and essentially it's gonna be we're gonna use 9 of the Herobrine blocks, and then the command block that was supposed to be the core of the Witherstorm, and we're gonna make like a Herobrine shrine. And I'm
Yeah.
not saying which character, but one of the characters is supposed to place an item what they have on top of it, and then it's gonna seal Herobrine away. But in doing so, they have to sacrifice themselves in order for it to happen.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Hey, real
I'm
quick,
realizing.
we still have a command block.
Yeah, we've found a random command block called the glitch, and we've just taken it and are currently using it for ourselves.
We kind of just
You
like
know-
stuck it in a research chamber. If you guys need that for lore, we're happy to like in lore give it up. But like,
you know what I find really funny?
what?
Mhm.
I think that's supposed to be a bush lore thing, because I don't remember Ellie or I talking about a command block
Oh.
named Glitch. So that was supposed to be a Bush lore thing, but I think Bush either didn't have time to do it or the storyline changed in a sense of. Like, there was
Oh, wait a
unforeseen
minute.
circumstances. Huh?
What?
That command block's in the Zero Vault.
Yeah, no, so that command block is
That command
going
block will
to-
survive the world falling apart and come back
Yeah.
at some point.
Because
Oh no!
the plan is
Implications.
that in Willow.
Well, careful, Jed. Careful, Jed. We're
I'll
on
be
the air
careful.
here.
I'll be careful, but like we will stumble upon it before Jed re-wakes up. It will be stumbled upon eventually. So that command block could be a problem at some point in time. But that's gonna be fun.
Potentially.
I'm gonna have to let Bush know about this.
Yeah, no,
But you
I'll-
know-
Yeah, no, we'll
we'll
get in
let him
contact with him. Or if you want to, you can. I don't mind. It's just I just realized that we had that and that there are implications to us keeping that in the vault. But
yeah.
what else? What else?
I'm on the server at the moment. I just came by the Tower of Appreciation. That's like got the get 2 to 3 average viewers, sub to whale, and follow Jed.
Oh
I
yeah.
love it. I'm
Oh,
try-
yeah.
Where is this command block? I want to know. Where is
It's in the
this
Zero
Inside of the
Vault.
Zero Vault.
But no, yeah, I think it's funny how our characters mind Jed and by extension Twig, because we've kind of roped Twig into our circle of madness here. Where
Oh,
like
yeah.
the henchmen are such like I don't know what the rest of the server sees the henchmen as, because from our perspective, it's genuinely like we have our serious moments, but in terms of like the actual full on like mainline server plot, we are such like shitty comic relief. It's great. We just kind of
relief,
appear
but
and then
also,
leave.
like, oh yeah, you want like a big ass vault that might be able to like we can hear Brian? Yeah, give us 24 hours.
Yeah, we'll pump that out, and then it'll fail.
And then it'll
See,
fail.
the plan for the whole sealing away Herobrine thing is it's the way that we're building where the ritual is happening is the exact same as how it was built in Willow SMP Season 1. So
Mhm.
like it connects them together in a sense of exactly what like this is where the origin of this chamber to seal away Herobrine was built in the first place. And I really like that fact because it's like connecting the things together. So like Ellie and I have had that plan to seal away Herobrine and how we're gonna do it since the beginning, which I feel like really is interesting because it's like interesting to see how our original plan was and how like like the storylines affected how it is now. And it's really
Yeah.
interesting. It's really cool and I love it. I love story writing,
Yeah.
guys. It's so nice.
No,
Yeah.
story writing is a lot of fun. Lore writing is a lot of fun. I have a lot of fun just like letting the lore write itself at a certain point, but the pre-planning, that's where the good stuff happens. That's where a lot of really good things come from.
Mhm.
But no, yeah. Another quick question.
Mhm.
Just like because we've talked about what inspired you, what got you that like initial spark of like I'm making things now. But what do you when you like have to get going for a project of just like, oh well, there's a new Willow season. I need to come up with character stuff for it. I need to come up with like an arc. I need to do this or that. What gets your creative juices flowing for that? Do you Do you like listen to music? Are you like an art enjoyer for inspiration and things like that, or what?
I feel like I'm a Spotify playlist creation enjoyer actually, to like get the feeling, because I like how a lot of like songs I guess come together to like create the characters. Like I've got a whole Willow SMP character playlist and a ConsoleCraft character playlist and all that kind of stuff, and I love to see like listening to music and like, for example, I'd be listening to like my playlist one day and I'd be like, oh, this would totally be my character, like the character that I'm trying to create, and then I would just like add it to the playlist. I feel like I love like sometimes I take inspiration from like the storybooks I read or things like that, but I feel like it's just what I'm doing in the moment generally depends on like how I want to write the character or how the character changes and things like that. So it's like it's interesting because it's like if I was doing this differently, how different would the character be, kind of thing. So it's like I don't know, it's interesting to find out how everything would change if it's like, you know, how like if the songs in the playlist were different or if the books that I'd base the characters on were different and things like that.
Right. But no, yeah, those are solid inspirations.
Back on the like questions about you as a content creator as opposed to just you as a lore writer and a writer, mainly as a streamer, but do you have any goals with your content creation? Like is there an end goal for you? Do you want it to be your career, or just having a fun time with it?
I feel like I want it to be my career, but I feel like first I have to find, like, obviously I have the passion for it and everything like that, but I feel like I have to find which part of it I want to turn into the career, because obviously, like, I enjoy streaming a lot. I've just been taking a break because obviously I've been doing ConsoleCraft stuff and things like that, and, like, obviously life is life, and sometimes it gets in the way, but I feel like it's, like, I feel like streaming I'd want to do permanently full-time, but it depends on, like, how it goes, if, like, you can necessarily make it your career. Because, like, Twitch is silly and takes away a percentage of, like, your earnings and everything like that, which is kind of annoying. And I've, like, always looked at doing YouTube creation and things like that, and I feel like it's, like, something I'd have to, like, do first before I realize if it's, like, something I want to do. Like, if I want to do, like, video creation, or, like, if I prefer to do everything, like, live and things like that. Because I've got a couple of recordings of, like, ConsoleCraft and stuff that I'll probably put on, like, YouTube and things like that, but it's, like, I like the raw ability of doing everything live a lot more than I like video creation. Which I feel like is like something interesting.
Right.
For like how the future of it.
Vox had to learn that lesson the hard way.
Yeah, no, I learned that lesson the hard way because I was when ConsoleCraft started, the day of ConsoleCraft starting, I was like, I want to try something different with this server because I stream and I pick days of the week that I'm gonna be online. And for Willow, that didn't really work out for me this season or last season, I guess at this point. And so, like, I need something different. So what if I instead just record when I'm online and then I'll cut it into a video and I'll do, like, one video per week? That quickly got out of hand because the recording sessions would be, like, 2 to 4 hours long, and then cutting 2 to 4 hours of footage is a lot to do, especially. And then I realized, oh, no, to be able to get through an entire week's worth of content, I'm gonna have to like, unless I want these videos to be like a couple hours long cut down, then I need to cut week 1 into multiple videos. And then I got into the schedule of like, I'll put one out on Wednesday and I'll put one out on Saturday. And that became such a problematic schedule for me because I do not exaggerate when I say if I am not streaming, sleeping, or like doing like a personal hygiene thing, like grabbing a shower real quick on the way up from bed, then like I am editing. I have Adobe Premiere open and I am editing footage. And it started to stress me out so bad to the point where I was like, I have to stop. I have to reevaluate this. You know, I have to figure out, because I'm going to, not only am I going to burn myself out, I found myself getting like agitated far more easily with things, and like it really like shortens the temper and like blunts the mind, and I couldn't like, it was making every facet of everything worse, and I was just like, okay, I like making video essays on YouTube. Gaming videos are not my thing. Understood. Figured that out. Moving on. You know, and so I'm still working through that of just like, how do I proceed from here? Because I still want the rest of that ConsoleCraft content to come out, and I've got kind of a tentative plan that I will release it under, but you know, that's beside the point. It's a real hard thing to find. But I've found that most of the time, the thing that works best for me is like I do one thing on one platform. Like on YouTube, I do my video essays. On TikTok, I do like mostly Twitch clips. But occasionally, when I do original content on TikTok, I do like shorts. And then on Twitch, I do my gaming streams, and like those are all very different facets and flex different muscles, so I don't end up basically working on the same thing 12 hours a day every day,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. I feel like, see, the way I enjoy like this kind of content in like streaming it and stuff like that is because I get to put the entire VOD on, like, because obviously in Willow, I kind of stopped towards the end of it, but I was like posting like lore VODs, like the entire stream. I would download and then put it on YouTube. So even like the ups and the downs and like the bits where we would go out of lore and just be silly for a little bit is like everything's all there.
it's all there.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like a bit that we can like you can see and enjoy and everything like that. And I really enjoy that fact because like I feel like that's why I'm more of a streaming kind of person than I am like a video creation kind of person, I think, because it's like I like enjoying everyone seeing the ups and the downs of content and like how everything like for example, with like Willow and ConsoleCraft, it's not scripted and and we know that it's improv, and I love seeing like what comes out of improv and things like that, like how everything is different and how like all like the different like all the lore spin, for example, moments that happen during lore, which I find really funny. Or it's like just us having a good time kind of thing, which I really enjoy actually. Like a good thing for me. That's like one of the reasons why I enjoy like the streaming side of content so much, because it's like your raw, like what happens in the moment kind of thing. You can't like change it or anything like that. It's like I like it.
Right.
I enjoy it.
So I find myself toward the middle of ConsoleCraft, I had a moment where I was like, I gotta stop because it's affecting the content. Where like things like that would happen normally, where it's like, oh, lore has to stop for a minute due to a technical issue. Okay, I've just added 10 minutes of work to myself in like a week when I get around to this piece of footage, And like it just like I would add it up in my head and come up with like these unhealthy like, oh no, dude, I'm gonna have to like this entire hour was unproductive because nobody will ever see it, and like yada yada. Where it's like on stream, this wouldn't be a problem for me. Oh well, it's sort of a worst case, it's sort of a bum stream, and best case, it's like I rolled with it and we made it work, But like I find that like, oh man, video creation is just not for me in this particular kind of content.
Mm-hmm.
Like being able to work with it live, I think I agree with you there, is just like it's the best. I get the maximum enjoyment out of it, and then everybody else does too. And then obviously the VODs go up. I think I might be the only guy. I think I'm the only other content creator that I've spoken to who abides by this, but all my VODs are up. All of them. I've been streaming for 3, almost like a little over 3 years, heading towards 4, and the VODs for literally every single stream I've ever done on my current Twitch channel in that time are up. There's some very, very, very old ones from a previous Twitch page that are just gone, lost to the ether, whatever. But like, they've all got like original stream date associated with them. They're like numbered and like sorted into playlists. I'm very analytical with that kind of thing, because like I'm convinced it'll build my future. Like that's where people will find things, because video on demand is king at the end of the day, because not everybody can make it, on the day.
Yeah.
Anyway, you were saying?
Yeah, because I feel like that's like another reason why I feel like I enjoy like being able to put like stuff on YouTube, like my VODs on YouTube and stuff, because I can always go back and watch it again. Because obviously, when you're an affiliate, there's only a certain amount of time you can have like your VODs stay up on Twitch, kind of thing. So it's nice being able to like go back and see. Yeah, so it's always nice to like go back and see how far you've come from this point. Like from one point. So for example, you could look at a VOD from like a month ago to like now, for example. It's like how everything has changed and everything like that. And I like really enjoy that, because I feel like I started off with just posting like my lore VODs, because like if people want to go on Twitter, or not Twitter, sorry, in YouTube, and they can see like how the storyline has progressed from this moment to it where it is now. I feel like that's really interesting, because it's like them being able to see the storyline and everything like that. And I feel like I'd love to get into just like putting all my VODs on there, but I feel like I want to finish what I've started with posting specifically the lore ones, and then where it is like with my regular ones, I think. So it's
Right.
like it's a little silly.
I found a little tip if you do end up getting into that. I found the best way to do it is to stream for the week and then take all those VODs at the end of the week and use I didn't used to because there used to be a major quality discrepancy between like the Twitch version and if I were to record it. So what I used to do was I used to stream and record at the same time, and I would just fill an external hard drive over the course of the week and then post them all whenever I got the chance. But I've gotten to the point where I'll use Twitch's native exporter because the quality difference is not that bad anymore. Because of course, I've upgraded my setup and my internet over time, and so that's just become a non-issue. At the end of the week, I'll upload all 5 and I'll number them and I'll put them in playlists. And then while they export from Twitch to YouTube through the native exporter, I'll go in and I'll make a thumbnail for them while they're doing that. And the thumbnails are very iterative. It's just all I have to do is slap a new screenshot on it and update the number in the corner from 12 to 13 or whatever. For whatever number of stream that game is. But it's also so good. It's so good to do it that way because it's I do it once, it takes me give or take 30 minutes on a Saturday, and then it's done for the week. I can confidently say at the end of streams that hey, if you want to go check out more, there's literally hundreds of hours more on YouTube. Go check it out, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. But Crim, outside of content creation, do you have any passions? Or are you music or are you art or anything like that? How do you spend your time away from stream?
Playing video games.
Fair enough.
Really?
You got any favorites?
Yeah, all my time is mostly spent online, and then my casual online work that I do. But other than that, yeah, it's pretty much just for example, I was playing Stardew Valley modded yesterday, and then I'd also play Honkai Star Rail and things like that. It's just all different kinds of games. It's not necessarily every single time Minecraft, but it's still something that I enjoy doing. It's just sitting in my room watching YouTube or something. I'd put on for example Sam and Colby or something and play games while I watch that in the background, because I feel me personally, I always have to be doing something to be focused on what I'm doing, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right.
So
yeah.
for example, I've watched My Hero Academia all the way through, updated to the most recent episode at least 3 or 4 times in the last 3 months, because of how much I enjoy watching it and how much it's just it's just helped me become more I feel I'm more relaxed when I'm able to play video games versus the real world. I'm not gonna lie. It's just something I enjoy a lot more.
Yeah, it's
Right.
good to put yourself in a world that isn't, the current one. And
It's good to remain distracted from reality. It's good to engage in escapism where possible.
Yeah, it's not like I spend all of my time online. Sometimes I'll go for a walk to the nearest cafe that I go to, and I'll get a coffee or something like that, and I'll just take a walk around my neighborhood because it's just a really nice place. But yeah, I don't know why. But a lot of my time, even if I'm friends, I think one of my online friends made this really good point the other day actually, because it's I'm so close to one of my friends, one of my online friends, but we hardly ever hang out in real life. Most of the time when we hang out, it's online and everything like that. It's it doesn't really make sense because we're close together in real life, so why wouldn't we hang out in real life, kind of thing? But I feel it's just my thing is I don't know, socializing with people in real life is weird. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I'm a social butterfly online, but when it comes to real life, it's scary.
Yeah. Spooky.
Yeah, I've gotten better at that over time. I found that I find that socializing, I used to have a very hard time with it, and now I'm getting better at it. The more it's definitely a step outside your comfort zone once or twice, and then it's just normal. You're just ready to go at all times. But yeah, no, a lot of a lot of the social stuff is very nice, because like I want to interact with more like Willow folks more often, because like we get like little snippets of like, oh well, yeah, we hang out with Willen for a couple nights on ConsoleCraft and mingle a bit with folks who happen to walk by, but it's just like, man, I really want to like spend more time with these people and get to know them a little more, and like, because I feel like that would be a like, not only like would that be a fun time, but it would also be a boon to the content to be able to like have more of a rapport, and it's just like, I genuinely don't know how to get there. It's like with strangers, not strangers necessarily, but with people whose like social boundaries you're less familiar with, it's like, or at least for me anyway, it's very much a game of just like, all right, I'm gonna swing and I'm gonna see if I hit. Like I'm feeling around in the dark to find out what makes you laugh, what'll like get the intended, like how should, how does that function? How does this person tick well enough to, be able to be a friend to them, without being like awkward or weird about it. Anyway.
But yeah, like, so I love, because I think you've mentioned this a couple times on like streams, a couple times, Jed, actually, how like you've created like a henchman group, but it's turned into like the entire server group kind of thing, and I really find that really funny, because
it happens every time.
Yeah, well, because like you get that social activity where it's like sometimes people will be like, because I feel like a lot of people are like inclined to join because you have it set like open and stuff. Like, for example, if you ever wanted to like make it so it's like just you guys, you could like put a password on or anything like that. But I feel like
for sure.
Yeah, I feel like opening up is cooler because it's like it gives you all the opportunities. Because then people who are like talking to you guys are like, for example, oh well, these people are available to talk to. I can just come chat with them and stuff like that. I feel like that's like really, really good in terms of like interacting with people. Because like I'm staring at the currently 5 other people on the ConsoleCraft server, and I'm just like going around in spectator, and I'm seeing all these people like chatting and enjoying themselves around where the portal's supposed to be, and it's really enjoyable to see.
I think about that occasionally because like Bush has mentioned doing similar in the past, and obviously they do that for lore reasons and stuff, not to snoop, but like it's obviously like with purpose, and sometimes just out of boredom, and that's fine too. But like they do it for a reason typically. But it's just like during the Herobrine thing where it's like, oh, sound effects are being triggered around us, and music discs are being played, and blocks are being exchanged for like netherrack and whatnot. And it's just like, I wonder sometimes, it's just like me and Jed are very like we're very weird people alone. We're very like in sync, and so like conversation can like, we're very comfortable with each other, I think is the word. And so it's we're very like, we have some weird conversations is all I'm saying. It's just like I think about the amount of times that like somebody in spectator just coming by to do like a Herobrine gag is like hearing, yeah, I think personally, you give a good answer, but I think personally I could eat 17 toads before one of them jump back up my throat.
See, like, I think one of the most out of context conversations I think I've come into like you guys and the henchmen talking about is Twig's mention of incest yesterday.
Oh yeah, like, see, that's what I mean. It's out of context. It gets so bad.
It's like I love the like vibes with you guys, so I feel like it's really like it's enjoyable to see, I think, which I find really cool.
Because like I think Jed has genuinely been, and I'm gonna compliment you a little bit here, Jed. Prepare yourself. Jed has genuinely been like, again, like a very big sway for me, at least, with like making content on ConsoleCraft and on like, and in future, like being social with people more often, because I think before it's very hard for me to approach people, but I think I don't have to make that approach even without like the voice group thing, like you said, even without that. Where it's just like, I think the way me and Jed interact with each other and the way we are very close with each other and very cool with each other and sort of have that like open rapport leaves enough, we leave enough gap that anybody can like just kind of step into it and be a part of the conversation. And I think we work well as a duo act socially in terms of like bringing new people in, and I think Jed is definitely like a shining point for me. Is just like, I think I bounce off Jed very well, and I think Jed bounces off me very well, and I think we very much work in that way.
The dynamic. I love the dynamic between you two. It's very like interesting to see.
Yeah, it's very funny because that's also like partially how it started. Not really started, but like when we like genuinely started being close friends, it was like Vox was third wheeling off of a couple of people, and then I showed up, and then we turned into like two chuckle fucks in the corner making silly noises, with the other two like elsewhere doing their own thing, and eventually we would have people like be drawn to us. It's a very good time.
Yeah, I don't know what it is.
a
It
very long
draws
time
people
ago.
in, and I'm very fond of that. I'm very fond of those times back in like VR and whatnot. And I think about it even
Mhm.
today of just like, how the hell did we make some of the friends we made? Like, why are people so pulled in by that? And I think again, it's just that like, I think we have a dynamic, Jed. I think you're very good
Mhm.
at you're better at like incorporating, and I like. Because like I can roll in a group setting, I can roll in a group setting for sure, but like in a one-on-one conversation, I have a hard time. And you being my sounding board and me being yours, it's like a very mutually beneficial like arrangement that like a lot of people seem to benefit from as well, and I think that's great.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, it's
But enough
definitely
tooting
like
our own horn.
interesting. And no,
Yeah.
I like talking about it because it's like really interesting to see like how you guys interact and things like that in different situations.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's a I'm afraid that it is unapproachable sometimes though, because there are some times that Vox and I will have like a a a way of speaking that is just like, what are you fucking talking about?
Oh yeah, it's
Um
it's definitely like I've watched your streams. I enjoy your
mhm.
streams. Both
Yeah.
your streams are really cool, and I loved
Thank
watching like
you.
your raw streams and your Fortnite streams. So just like watching you interact with each other is like really cool. I
Yeah.
Dude, the
love
raft
I love your
streams,
friendship.
they perform so poorly. They're like the worst streams
They're
numbers wise, but they're
terrible.
some of my favorites to do
They're
is the
so much
thing.
fun.
It's so much fun because I'm genuinely not playing the game. I'm
Yeah.
fishing and I'm cooking fish, and then we play the game for like an hour, and then I go back to doing that, and we just have conversation and kind of just hang out on a boat for a while, And I think
Yeah.
that's I think that like enables a lot of this like fun little conversationally bits, and like despite the poor performance, I almost am sad that like we've only got a couple more like story important missions in Raft left.
Yeah.
I love Raft as a game. It's such a good game. I enjoy it
Raft is a good
It's
thoroughly.
time. I
fun,
like it.
yeah. It has its sticking points for me personally, where I'm just like, oh, that's bullshit. Are you fucking kidding me? But like
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, I'm still having fun. I'm still having a good time.
And that's
Yeah,
what's important, you know.
we like struggled through the like megalodon fight thing, but we still had a good time.
Yeah, we did it.
Yeah.
We got it done eventually.
We did.
But no, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Do you have anything? Do you have anything on that sort of a side where it's like, man, these streams don't do well, but I do them for me. Do you have any like sort of pieces like that?
Sometimes, yeah. I feel like I enjoy streaming. I feel like I don't know if this is like a me preference or is it like a preference that some people have, but I enjoy streaming a lot more when I'm chatting with people. Like when there's like
Mhm.
active people in the chat or I'm in a VC talking with someone, I enjoy that kind of like streaming a lot more than like if I was by myself. I think just because it's like I feel like I'm a social person online, and I like my entire personality is based on like socializing with people, and I enjoy doing it. And I feel like it gets kind of like boring in a sense when it's just me, if you get what I mean, because it's like
Mhm.
Yeah, no, I get
yeah,
you.
it's like something that I feel like I really I don't know. I feel like if it's a multiplayer game, I have a lot more fun with. Numbers wise, I don't really. If I'm gonna be so for real, I don't really pay attention. I'm not gonna lie. I
That's
just
so
enjoy having
fair.
fun.
Yeah. I'll get
I
caught
feel
up in
like
the numbers somewhat sometimes, but
Yeah, I feel like a lot of like demotivating parts of like content creation is like paying attention to the numbers. And like I get sometimes you do have to look at the numbers, but sometimes it can be so nice on your mental health and just your health in general if you're just not looking at it. I
yeah.
feel like
Yeah.
it goes so well because like I don't have my view account on stream or anything. The only like analytics I really look at is like if I feel like I'm close to like a follow goal or a subscriber goal or anything like that. Like I think one of my sub goals that I'm actually really close to at the moment, which I'm kind of excited for, is a drunk lethal company with my
Oh,
friend.
congratulations.
So I'm like really excited to like do that because I've wanted to do it for a long time, but I've never really had like the time or motivation to like get people together to do it. But I
Mhm.
feel like once I get like the sub goal, it's like, well, that's something I'm looking forward to doing now because it's like I have reason to do it because the people want me to do it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's
Right,
like
right.
the new Phasmophobia update actually just came out and there's a whole new map for it,
Ooh.
and I'm getting some friends together and we're playing it that on Wednesday, which
Oh,
is going to
hell
be
yeah.
really nice because like yeah, Phas hasn't really updated their maps in a long time, and there's this new lighthouse map that looks amazing and I love it and I want to play it so
Oh,
bad.
that sounds cool.
Yeah.
Phasmophobia has a special place in Vox and I's friendship.
Yeah.
Because the night that I came back and like met back up with Vox, because we had met and then we stopped hanging out for like a month, and then I showed back up, and he had made a couple new friends, and one of our still very close friends, comes into the instance while Vox and I are just like shooting the shit, and they
They're
come into the
hanging out
instance
in
and they
VR
go,
at this point.
Phasmophobia fucking sucks in VR. Everything is covered in Vaseline. It sucks. This is awful. Hi, who are you? Hello.
And then they were
Goodbye.
like,
And then they
don't
left.
play it. If you're gonna play it in desktop. Don't buy it as a VR game. It's not worth it in VR. I gotta tell you. And it's just like, okay, well maybe we'll, and they walk away, and I was just like, well, I'm intrigued. It's only like $7. You want to pick it
I was
up and
gonna
play
say,
it?
I'll buy it.
And then we,
I've already seen like so many people play Phasmophobia in VR, and despite a lot of people not liking it, it looks like so much fun.
It was a
Like
decent amount of fun.
it was a decent
I
time. We
feel
didn't
like
really get what we were doing, obviously, and we got to play like 30 minutes of like walking around like a very empty like house, like I think it was like a cabin. I don't remember. I don't
Yeah, it
play
was like a
Phasmo,
cabin.
but I was just like 30 minutes in. 30 minutes in, I was so tired of like,
Well,
man,
your internet died too.
we're just kind of standing here. No, the game crashed is what happened. Jed. The game
Ah.
crashed, and then like when the game crashed, like and I'm glad the game crashed when it did, because I was genuinely thinking about just closing it anyway and just like heading out for the night. But like it crashed
Yeah.
on me, and I was just like, yeah, I'm kind of bored anyway. I don't know if I want to bother, you know. And Jed was like, yeah, that's fair. This does kind of suck in VR. We never even tried it on desktop, or at least I didn't. I got my
I feel-
refund in immediately because I was like, I'll pick it up again if I ever want to play it again. But, you know.
I feel like it's something I'd want to play. I don't know if I'd enjoy it, but I feel like for the experience, because obviously I've played a lot of Phasmophobia on like desktop and things like that. I feel like I'd want to play it for the experience that you'd get if you play it in VR. Just because, I'd want to
Yeah.
play, like, for example, if I could, I'd love to play Willow SMP in VR. Because I feel like that'd be really, really silly.
God, if my
to
computer
just-
wouldn't explode, I'd have already done that. I would have already done a
Yeah.
VR stream for it. I've been considering. Yeah.
I'd love
Just
to
for
do a
a-
VR stream for Willow one day. I feel like it'd be really cool. Just to,
Yeah.
see
For a
how
walkabout.
everything, in the world looks from, because there's a difference between looking at it on a screen and then looking at it in, VR.
Oh, for sure.
Which I
That's
find
one of
really
the
cool.
outrageous things with Minecraft and VR is that 2 blocks really is like 6.5
It's
feet
2
tall, dude.
meters. Yeah. It's insane. It's
Oh.
insane. Minecraft in VR is absolutely wild. I love it.
Yeah.
I think one of the scary things that I'd still love to try out no matter what is electrifying in VR.
Oh, I did it.
I'd
It's
love
fun.
to see.
It's
Love
fun.
to see how that goes. Because one
By
of my
default.
friends recently did like a VR stream on Twitch or something,
Mhm.
and they were like elytra flying around and stuff like that, and it's like interesting to see like how the game changes and things like that because you're in VR and how like your experience with the game changes, and it's really interesting and I really enjoy it.
Well, because there are
Yeah.
2 control methods. There are a couple control methods that Vivecraft allows for like motion like that, and it's like, do you want the world centered on your head, or do you want your like forward centered on your like hand and hand movement? So you could either be doing like head movements for Elytra Flight, which I was very fond of, or this might be a far out reference. You could be like that kid with the power glove in The Wizard, kind of just like holding your hand out and sort of tilting it in directions, and that's fun too. But I found it a lot more I found it a lot more, fun to do it with my head. And it seems like it'd be so disorienting. I'm not really the best tester for that cuz I don't really get motion sick in VR. But like it's actually a really fun time. It's a lot of fun to be just like ducking and weaving through obstacles and whatnot.
Yeah. But yeah.
Yeah. I
Other
don't
than
know. There's a lot of VR games that I want to try, like FNAF FNAF is on my bucket list of FNAF games VR games to play because it looks so
It's a good time.
interesting.
I played FNAF Help Wanted 1, and then I bought 2. I still haven't gotten the good ending in 2. I haven't done everything required to get the good ending. I got a ending, but I didn't get the good ending. But the first game is genuinely one of my favorite VR titles, because it includes basically the entire of the first 3 FNAF games playable in VR, and that's nice. Like, alongside a bunch of other minigames. That's really the draw for me. Is like, I was hoping when they did the second one, they would re-release those modes, because they're so good. They're so much fun. Like, I genuinely won't play FNAF any other way these days. Like, if I want to get in for FNAF, I'll hop into VR and have a time, you know?
Yeah.
I feel like there's so many things that you can play in VR that once you play in VR, I feel like you don't want to go back to playing it regularly, which I feel like is like really interesting.
Yeah. You should pick up a headset at some point. It's a good time. I promise it won't disappoint.
I heard a VR headset.
Well, get in! What are you doing?
I'm planning to at some point. I just need to I don't have the current cable that connects it up to my PC at the moment, so I'm gonna go buy that. And I'm also just planning on upgrading my PC in general at some point later on this year. So I'm like, want to do that first before I do anything else, really.
Right. Well, when you get the opportunity to get the cable, dust it off, hop in. I'm sure you'll have a great time. In fact, if you wanted to get up to some VR Minecraft shenanigans, hit me up. I'll hop in.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Well,
that sounds like so much fun.
But FNAF VR can lead to some funny moments. There's a new one. There's that one where what is his name?
Arts and Crafts minigame.
Sun and Moon. Yeah, where Sun and Moon, you're standing there and you have to build like a paper plate doll. And I'm playing this in the Discord with Vox and Vox's husband. And I'm building this paper plate doll, and like something happens, and half of a plate clips into the floor, and then launches everything around it across the room. And I throw my hands up and I go, "I've lost everything."
So like, there's the you gotta think about this, Jed, from my perspective. I wasn't even really watching you play the game. I was like looking over every couple minutes when you'd mention something. But like most of the time I was like doing my own thing in the background. I had the stream volume up, so I was hearing like in the background of this minigame, they put like the daycare music, so there's just like and Jed just going, "I've lost everything," and it's like, it was so fucking funny.
Having a fucking mental break while fucking.
It puts such a mental image of just my wife and kids have left me.
They're all gone. It's all gone.
I love daylight. The daycare such a soundtrack is like so nice. I love it.
It's such a stellar piece of music. It like not even that it's like that revolutionary or anything. It's just very silly. It's very fitting for the area, and it kind of transcends a little bit as just, this is just silly music I can use for anything, you know?
Yeah, it falls into the like no thoughts head empty kind of thing.
Yeah, I feel like it's really cool because it's like a friendly introduction to like probably, in my opinion, because obviously played Security Breach, like one of the worst parts of Security Breach. It's like a fun introduction of like, oh my god, I had such a hard time getting those generators in like that section in Security Breach, and it was like, oh my god. But it's like you get the fun, nice music at the same time, so it's like nice, but it's also
it's always the like fucked up pain in the ass areas that always have the most like charming, nice music. So then you end up like, in a situation where somebody walks in on you playing the game and you're like disheveled and your hair's like all out of whack, and it's like, hey, how you doing? What you up to? It's like, I'm giving the rabbit.
I've been turning on generators for 35 minutes. The music is looping. I'm gonna hear it in my nightmares. Oh god, what a franchise Five Nights at Freddy's is. What an absolute like franchise, for lack of a better word.
I love it.
The like I've lost everything was one of them, but another thing that happened to Vox and I both, we were trying to get the like secret ending of the Foxy's Log Ride game, and Jesus Christ, Vox and I probably each did it about 100 times.
We didn't know how to do it. We didn't know how to do it to start with, so we were like, oh, there's a score thing. Because you know how those sorts of rides work, where you're like shooting at targets. They give you a score at the end, and then, you know, it's like on like they have like little funny names for the different scorings. And so I was like, okay, surely if I get the highest score possible, then that will be the secret ending. That seems like the no-brainer solution to me. And I played this minigame for like 4 hours straight. I played it for like an hour and a half under that assumption. And then my husband was just like, do you want me to look it up? And I was like, I do want you to look it up, please. Let me know if I'm even, like, don't tell me outright, but let me know if I'm on the right track. And they're like, kind of, you didn't do all the secret areas correctly. And I was like, oh, there are secret areas, right? And so I committed to doing those, and they eventually just had to outright tell me what the third secret was, because like, you know how FNAF secrets get, they're very convoluted sometimes. And so like I'm on hour 3 of doing this. I cannot stress enough, like 3-minute long like segment of the game over and over again, and my eyes are tired.
Audio going on every time,
and I'm just like I'm hearing like the fucking thunk of like the balls coming out of the little gun that they give you. Like it's like, awful.
Look out ahead.
Yeah, like little foxy voice lines and shit.
And then it turned out like we had to shoot these like little blue things somewhere, and it's like way out of the way.
They're
and
like
it's
the
why
least
the fuck
obvious
would I
secret in the
ever
world.
think to do that?
But I love these games. That's one of those times where I had to remind myself, no, I like this franchise. I swear, this is good. This is fun.
Put in my fucking phone number in the Five Nights at Freddy's.
Put my social security number into the wall tiles. Let's find out what happens.
What was your opinions on the FNAF movie, actually?
I liked it.
Right.
I thought it was good. I thought it was a good, fun little romp, personally, and I'm excited for the second one.
I'm also excited for the second one. I think it's going to be really cool.
Anybody expecting like high-tier horror from the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise needs to like back up, and examine themselves.
I really like FNAF 1 because I think FNAF 1 is the best horror-wise, and then it's downhill.
I just really like the aesthetic of the first game.
I just like the like story at this point. Less for the horror aspect.
I just like FNAF.
I like it all, but I really like the first game. I think that first game is what, that I fell in love with this franchise when that's all there was, and so it's like there's a lot of neat things and neat aspects to that game that are dropped in later entries in favor of exploring other avenues.
A very important question, actually.
All
right.
For the podcasters, who's your favorite animatronic and why?
Jed, you got an answer? I don't have an answer off the top of my head. I gotta think.
I like Toilet Bonnie because I think
Toilet
Bonnie is funny.
Huh?
Toilet Bonnie, Withered Bonnie looks like a toilet.
Because he's kind of toilet shaped. Okay, I haven't seen anything calling him fucking Toilet Bonnie, but no, that seems like a good pick. Put it in the chat. And then I'll show it on stream, or I'll show it on the thing.
I really like Withered Freddy. Withered Freddy actually gets me like kind of heebie-jeebies. Okay. Here's the Toilet Bonnie image.
Yeah, put it in. Oh, I see him. Here, let me
I think about this. I think about like the teeth going up and down on like a massager. Like a massage toilet.
God.
It's so fucked up.
It is fucked up. That is fucked up. You would say that.
I like Withered Bonnie for that reason, but I think Withered Freddy is the best design.
I like the original Foxy design a lot. Frankly, I like it for very specific reasons. I like his design. Well, that's the thing about him is like, okay, so restaurants like Showbiz Pizza and Chuck E. Cheese would have sort of sideshow acts that were very temporary. They were like basic animatronics that were meant to be reskinned every now and again for just like, oh, they've got, Santa Claus for the winter, and then they have like the fucking Headless Horseman or whatever for Halloween, and then, maybe a pirate or like an Elvis impersonator or like various other things. And I feel like that's an aspect of those restaurants that is often forgotten that I think is really, I think it's really fun and interesting how like versatile that sort of thing is, and like how infrequently it's referenced. And I think the Foxy sideshow and like how like, all right, yeah, there's this like band and then their pirate friend, where it's just like that's kind of how the theming of those restaurants was, especially like more Showbiz than Chuck E. Cheese. But Showbiz characters are just like Yeah, you know, you got Beach Bear, you got Rolf, you got Mitzi. Like, these are all very different characters with very different aesthetics going on, and they all share a stage, and I think that's very fun. And it's something that you miss out on, you know, in a lot of these mascot horror franchises, and especially like FNAF kind of later got like more into its unified looks, and I think that's fine. But I like that acknowledgement. I like that acknowledgement to how like weird and off kilter some of the theming of these restaurants could be, you know?
I think that if you and any of the viewers do like that, like going back to the roots of where it started, you should look into A Bite at Freddy's, because the way that those animatronics work are they're the like talk show host animatronics that were stuck inside of a box. And so when they like get out of their stage, they like crawl around without legs. And they're very silly looking. There are some really good frames of them just being kind of silly guys, because it's a not very horror focused game. But I highly recommend A Bite at Freddy's.
One thing I will mention though about actual real animatronics and like stage animatronics like that doesn't get brought up a lot. And most of the time is overlooked in favor of like servos and modern technology, is that those use air. Those are air pressure like guided machines. And so the thing about it is an animatronic, if you've ever been to like a Chuck E. Cheese, I'm sure you've heard like the clicking and the fucking noises that they make that are like almost louder than the music itself, just like the pneumatics and like the fucking the air coming in and out of them. You know, I think that's like, I think that can be used in like in the effect of like how horrifying they can be really well. The only issue with that is that like it just raises more questions of like, how the hell did this thing get off the stage and how is it still able to move if there's no air tube feeding it, you know?
Yeah.
But like I think like how like loud and very obviously mechanical those things are really lends, in my opinion, and that's another like small detail about these things that like often gets misplaced in adaptation.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Because but no, yeah, Five Nights at Freddy's good. Five Nights at Freddy's good. Yeah.
Enjoy.
But
I
think it's about wrap time. I think it's about time we close out the show and get a move on. Crim, do you have anything you wanna plug or mention right before we wrap here?
You guys should 100% follow these two if you haven't already.
Oh, you stole our line. You should check out Crim then. We'll plug you. You should check out Crim. Yeah. Oh, I got a birthday stream coming up this Wednesday. It'll be a 24-hour stream, Wednesday, July 3rd. Go check it out.
It's Thursday for Crim. Good to know.
Yeah. By the way, if you want to be involved in that, Crim, I got a thing to send you. What else? What else, Jed? Podcast. The podcast comes out every Sunday at 3 p.m. You can find us on YouTube and Spotify. And
you can find all of our other content in the description below, as well as Crim. We're gonna get all of Crim's links down there. We're
gonna get Crim's, like, I'm sure they have like a card or like a link tree or something. Awesome. And that'll wrap us up for the day. A very disheveled outro. We'll see you guys around.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.